Now I'm ready to start to add materials to the windows. By selecting the windows, I can see that they actually instanced. If I grab some vertices at the bottom of one window here selected in yellow and I drag these, all of my other windows actually move the same. And this won't hurt us much, but it's just important to note that they are an instance where all of the clones reflect the same transformation, the same thing in the shape node. For the windows then, I'm going to pick, and I can either do this by selecting them or do it in the outliner, again the advantage of good naming. Pick all of my window nodes. And at first I'm going to put a white blend on for the frames, then I'll put a glass on the glass itself. So I'll right click and assign a new material, blend. And in this blend I will call it white paint semi-gloss. And I'll make this nice and bright. I realize also I forgot to adjust the brick. At the moment if I were to render, my brick would be stunningly shiny and reflective. And I may want to fix that later, but I'll have to make a note to come back to it. While I'm in the blend here, I'll adjust this. This is going to be a semi-gloss paint. It's a little bit of a gloss to it. There's my color, and it's a blend shader, which is a tight surface and a round highlight. And I'll go down to the specular shading. And the eccentricity controls the spread of the highlight on the surface. The roll-off is the tightness of the highlight. How shiny is it? So what I'll do for this is raise the eccentricity a little bit, so the highlight blooms on the surface a little more. And then reduce that roll-off down, so it's not nearly as shiny. And I'm also going to reduce the reflection way down. Just the tiniest bit of reflectivity in there to kind of contribute what looks like a little bit of a color bounce. And with those objects selected, I'll isolate them. And I like to use the isolate tool a lot of times, just because it really lets me cleanly see what I'm doing. So now by face, I'm going to go select the glass on all the windows all at once. And start to add on a glass material. So I'll select them all and press F11 for face. And now fairly quickly in a front view, press F for focus, zoom in on this. I have my windows. And so what I'll do is I will come in and pick all those faces and right click and assign new material. Now the neat thing about the instance is that if I selected all the objects and I'm in face mode, all the faces are selected. And so here's a blend, and just so we can see it as an example, if I darken those. Interesting. So, major difference there. Okay. Neat one to note. Did I just get caught there? Yes, and that's okay. Yes, all the faces are selected. What goes across in the instance? Object transformations, sub-object or component transformations, such as moving vertices. What doesn't transfer between instances of the same object? Things like selecting faces and assigning materials. I have to do it uniquely. So it's not a big deal, but it's just worth noting that as I do that, so there's my window in black, I actually need to go through and assign to all the faces those materials. What I'll do is I'll pick them and I'll right click and pick Assign Existing Material. Blend 3 is what I just put on. And now very quickly I can pick faces and hit G to repeat last. And just zip through these windows and assign those faces that material. And I could even get really crafty and hold Shift here to select multiple faces. And press G, and they're assigned. So it's just worth noting the differences in instances and copies when they're cloned or imported, and how they work in terms of selecting, assigning materials, and transforms. Okay, so there's my material assigned to all the glass. And being that these windows look into a building with really no inside, I don't want to make them too transparent. But first I'll name this window glass. And what I'll do for the color for glass is go with kind of a deep gray that has maybe just a touch of bluish purple to it, just the littlest bit. And still very dark, and very low saturation on that blue. Just to kind of give the idea there's a little sky bounce happening. And because it's glass, I can lower the eccentricity, so the highlight is tighter, bring up the roll-off so it's shinier, and does it have a reflectivity? That's an option. That's an artistic choice. I'm going to leave mine actually somewhat low, because the glass shouldn't really be a mirror. Glass seen from the outside in a building during the day is more of a dark void than anything. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'll go back and get out of isolation, and there's the windows on the building.